I never thought a single phone call could shatter my entire world. It was late. I was exhausted, sitting on the edge of a hotel bed, my laptop open, emails flooding in from my boss. I had just finished a long day of meetings, barely had time to eat, and was getting ready to crash when my phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen. My heart immediately clenched. She never called this late, especially knowing I was away for work. A mother's instinct is never wrong. Something was off. I answered immediately. "Hey, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Silence, not complete silence, just her breathing, ragged and uneven, like she was trying to hold back tears. "Emma?" I sat up straighter, my body already tensing. Then, in a voice so small, so broken, she whispered, "Mom, Aunt Lisa kicked me out." I felt my stomach drop. My hand tightened around the phone. "What do you mean, kicked you out? Where are you?" "Outside," she sniffled. "On the porch. She said I was in the way." "In the way?" I jumped to my feet, my mind racing. "In the way of what, Emma? Where are Grandma and Grandpa?" "They were there, Mom." Her voice cracked. "They didn't do anything. They just let her." I swear I stopped breathing for a second. My own parents, the people I had trusted to take care of my daughter while I was away, had stood there and let this happen? "Are you alone?" My voice was shaking now. "Emma, is the door locked?" "Yes," she whispered. I closed my eyes, trying to push down the fury that was threatening to explode. "Listen to me, baby. You're going to be okay. I'm going to fix this. Right now, I need you to stay put. Stay right where you are, okay?" She sniffled again. "Okay." I didn't hesitate. I ended the call and immediately dialed my best friend, Sarah. Pick up, I muttered under my breath. On the third ring, she answered. "Hey, aren't you in—" "Sarah," I cut her off, my voice sharp. "Emma's outside my parents' house. Lisa kicked her out." There was a pause, then an outraged, "She what?" "I need you to go get her. Now, please, I'm not there. I can't—" My voice broke. "I can't get to her?" "I'm on my way," Sarah said immediately. "I'll call you when I have her." The moment she hung up, I dialed my mother. She picked up on the second ring, her tone casual as if nothing had just happened. "Bella, what's wrong? It's late." "Are you out of your damn mind?" My voice was ice. There was a pause. "Excuse me?" "You let Lisa throw my daughter out of the house. You watched her do it. What is wrong with you?" A deep sigh. "Bella, don't be dramatic. Lisa was just overwhelmed. Emma was being difficult, and Lisa needed some space." "Difficult?" My voice rose. "She's 12, Mom. What could she have possibly done to deserve being thrown into the street in the middle of the night?" "You're overreacting," she said flatly. "Emma is fine. She's just being sensitive." I wanted to scream. I wanted to reach through the phone and shake her. Then she said the words that changed everything. "Maybe it's for the best, Bella. Maybe you and Emma should find somewhere else to stay. You don't really fit here anymore." Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. I felt something inside me snap. Years and years of being the forgotten child, the one left behind, the one forced to watch as Lisa was handed everything while I had to fight for scraps. I had accepted it, swallowed it, let it shape me, but not anymore. "You're right, Mom," I said slowly. "We don't fit there. We never did." And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to try. The flight home was the longest 5 hours of my life. I couldn't focus, couldn't rest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma, sitting alone on that porch, shivering in the dark. Sarah kept me updated. She picked up Emma within 10 minutes and took her back to her place. My daughter, my strong, resilient girl, had tried to hold it together, but when Sarah hugged her, she broke down completely. By the time my plane landed, my hands were shaking. I drove straight to Sarah's house, running up the steps 2 at a time. The moment I stepped inside, Emma ran to me, throwing her arms around me so hard it nearly knocked me off balance. She was sobbing, full-body, gut-wrenching sobs. "I didn't do anything wrong, Mom," she choked out. I hugged her tighter, pressing my lips to the top of her head. "I know, sweetheart. I know." I looked at Sarah over Emma's shoulder, and my best friend's eyes burned with the same anger that was simmering inside me. "What are you gonna do?" she asked. I pulled back, cupping Emma's tear-streaked face in my hands. "I'm going to make sure they never hurt you again." I barely stopped to sleep. I spent the entire night making calls, setting everything in motion. I called my real estate agent, explaining that I needed to get back into my apartment immediately. I called my lawyer, asking what I could take from my parents' house, the house I had been paying for. By morning, everything was set. It was time to go back. I pulled into the driveway of my parents' house, stepping out of the car with a calm I didn't feel. The front door swung open almost instantly, and there they were, my mother and father standing in the entryway, their faces tight with forced politeness. "Bella," my mother said carefully, "you're back." I walked past her without a word, my footsteps echoing in the hallway. The house smelled the same, familiar but suddenly foreign. Lisa was sprawled on the couch, her 2 kids playing on tablets beside her. She barely looked up as I entered. "Oh, look who's here," she drawled, smirking. "Finally come to pick up your little princess." Something about her casual arrogance made me see red. I turned to my parents. "Where's all the money I've been sending? The loan payments, the bills, the groceries?" They shifted uncomfortably. Lisa let out a dramatic sigh. "Oh my God, Bella, not everything is about you. Some of us actually have problems." I smiled. "That's funny," I said, pulling out my phone and sending a single text. "Because as of right now, none of that is my problem anymore." Within seconds, a moving truck pulled into the driveway. Lisa sat up, frowning. What's going on?" I turned to the movers, pointing around the house. "Take everything I bought." My mother gasped. "Bella, you can't—" "Oh, but I can," I interrupted, my voice sharp. "The furniture, the appliances, everything I paid for. It's mine, and I'm taking it back." Lisa's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "You're actually serious?" "Dead serious." And just like that, the life they had taken for granted started falling apart. Lisa was still sitting there, her phone in her lap, her eyes flicking between me and the moving crew that had started hauling out the furniture. My mother's hands were wringing together, and my father just stood there, his expression unreadable. I turned to them, arms crossed. "For years, I sent money," I said, my voice eerily calm. "For years, I covered the mortgage, the bills, the groceries, the loan payments. And for years, you never once hesitated to take my help. Not even when you threw me aside in favor of Lisa. Not even when you let her make mistake after mistake and expected me to clean them up." "Bella," my mother began, but I held up a hand. "Number. You don't get to speak. Not after what you did to Emma. Not after you let your favorite daughter throw a child, my child, onto the street and did nothing to stop it." Lisa rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, are you still on about that?" I needed space, Bella. She was being a brat. A slow, dangerous smile spread across my face. "You need space? Perfect. Because I'm giving you all the space in the world. Right here, in this empty house." Lisa's smirk wavered as the movers lifted the refrigerator. My mother let out a choked gasp. "Bella, wait, we need that!" I shrugged. "Should have thought about that before you threw away the one person keeping this house afloat." Lisa shot up from the couch. "You can't do this? We live here." I turned to her, tilting my head. "Then maybe you should have thought twice before biting the hand that was feeding you." The movers kept working, loading everything into the truck. The TV, the dining table, the washing machine. Every single item that had been purchased with my money was stripped away from them. My father, who had been silent up until now, finally spoke. "Bella, can we talk about this?" I laughed, actually laughed. "Now you want to talk. Where was this conversation when you watched Lisa push my daughter out of this house? Where was this talk when you drained my college fund for Lisa's wedding?" My mother looked desperate. "We made mistakes, but we're family." That word, family. I felt something inside me snap all over again. "No," I said, stepping closer. "You don't get to use that word. Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't betray you over and over and then come running back when they need something. You didn't treat me like family when you threw away my future for Lisa's happiness. You didn't treat me like family when I was struggling to get by. And you didn't lift a damn finger. And you sure as hell didn't treat Emma like family when you let her cry outside in the cold while you watched." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Bella. We dash." I turned away. "I don't want to hear it." Lisa stormed toward me, her face red with fury. "You're such a selfish bitch, you know that? You've always acted like you were better than us." I didn't even blink. No, Lisa, I was just tired of being your doormat. She opened her mouth, but before she could say another word, I lifted a hand. Oh, and by the way, your free ride? It's over. My money? Gone. The bills? No longer my problem. The loan? You'll have to figure that one out yourselves. Lisa paled. My mother staggered back like I had slapped her. I smiled. Welcome to your mess. Enjoy. With that, I turned on my heel, walked out the door, and slammed it shut behind me. The fallout was immediate. The very next day, the call started. My mother called first, leaving teary voicemails, begging me to reconsider. Then my father, his tone more resigned, but still desperate. Then Lisa, screaming, raging, threatening. I ignored them all, and the text messages, even worse. Mom, the house is falling apart without you. We can't pay the bills. Please, Bella, come back. Just talk to us. Lisa, you selfish, ungrateful bitch. You think you're better than us? You're not. You're going to regret this. Dad, we don't know what to do, Bella. Please, just tell us how to fix this. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over the block button. Instead, I did something better. I turned it off. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I took Emma out to celebrate. We got ice cream, went shopping, and ended the night watching a movie on our tiny apartment couch. Do you miss them? She asked suddenly, looking up at me. I thought about it. No, I said honestly. I miss the idea of them, but not who they really are. Emma nodded. Me too. She rested her head on my shoulder, and I kissed her hair. We're going to be okay, sweetheart, I whispered. Better than okay. And for the first time in years, I actually believed it. Weeks passed, and I heard through the family grapevine that things had gone from bad to worse. My parents struggled to pay the mortgage. The bills piled up. The bank was already making foreclosure threats. Lisa? Still not working, still mooching off them, refusing to take responsibility for her own failures. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The house was foreclosed on. My parents were forced to move into a tiny, run-down apartment. Lisa, ever the survivor, found herself a new boyfriend to leech off of. I didn't feel bad, not even for a second. They had made their choices, and now they were living with them. Meanwhile, Emma and I flourished. I poured every dime I used to waste on them into her future. I set up her college fund, took her on weekend trips, made new traditions. One evening, as we sat on our apartment balcony watching the sunset, she looked at me with a small smile. Mom, are you happy now? I stopped, really thinking about it. I thought about how light I felt, how peaceful, how I no longer had to walk on eggshells, waiting for the next betrayal. I smiled. Yeah, baby, I am. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. It started small, a voicemail here, a text message there. My mother's voice trembling with barely restrained desperation. My father attempting to sound stoic but failing miserably. Lisa switching between rage-filled rants and guilt-tripping pleas like she was flipping a light switch. At first, I ignored them all. Then the messages became more insistent. Mom, we don't know what to do, Bella. The bills are too high. We can't cover them without you. Dad, Lisa is struggling. The kids are struggling. Please, Bella, we can't do this without you. Lisa, you ruined everything. You think you're so damn righteous, but you're just a bitter, selfish bitch. I hope you're happy watching your own family suffer. Oh, I was happy. For the first time in my life, I was thriving. Emma and I settled into a routine that felt ours. Mornings were filled with peaceful breakfasts, something that never would have been possible in my parents' house. At night, we curled up together watching our favorite shows, and I didn't have to hear Lisa stomping around complaining about her latest inconvenience. Emma was doing better too. Without Lisa's kids constantly making a mess of things, without being treated like an afterthought in her own home, her grades shot up. She joined the chess club, something she never would have been able to do before. My once quiet, hesitant daughter was blossoming into a confident young woman. But the more Emma and I flourished, the more my parents crumbled. The text messages turned into longer voicemails. Mom's voice was barely above a whisper in one of them. Bella, we don't have enough for the mortgage. We could lose the house. Lisa has nowhere to go. The kids have nowhere to go. A part of me, the old part, still twitched at the thought. The part of me that had spent a lifetime trying to please them. But that part was dead and buried. They made their choice, so now they could live with it. The foreclosure notice came faster than I expected. Word traveled through the family grapevine, and within a few weeks, my parents had no choice but to move out. I got a text from my cousin, Claire, who had always been more on my side than anyone else. "You won't believe this. Your parents and Lisa had to move into a tiny apartment across town. Lisa is losing her mind." I smirked. Oh, I believed it. Lisa had spent her entire life being catered to, being spoiled. She had gone from having a cushy setup in my parents' house, with me footing the bill, to squeezing into a cramped apartment with no money and 2 kids to support. And she hated it. I knew because, despite all logic, she still called me. The first time, I let it go to voicemail. The second time, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. "Finally?" Lisa snapped before I could even speak. "Took you long enough." I leaned back against my kitchen counter, rolling my eyes. "Lisa." "Listen, I don't have time for small talk," she huffed. "I need help." I nearly choked on my laughter. "You need what?" "Help!" she shouted, as if I hadn't heard her the first time. "Mom and Dad are useless, and this place is disgusting. The kids hate it here, I hate it here, and I know you have the money to help us, Bella. Just do the right thing for once." I was almost impressed. She didn't even try to pretend. She just went straight to demanding. I let the silence stretch out. Then, in the calmest voice possible, I said, "No." Lisa sputtered. "What?" "No," I repeated. "I'm not helping you. You made your bed, now lie in it." "You selfish." I hung up, blocked her number. A minute later, my phone rang again. My mother. I sighed and picked up. "Bella, honey, I know Lisa can be difficult, but please, the children—" I cut her off. "Do you remember what you said to me that night?" She hesitated. "Bella, You told me Emma and I didn't fit there anymore." Silence. "You let Lisa throw my daughter out and you stood there and watched. So now, I'm watching you struggle, and I don't feel a damn thing." My mother made a choked noise, something between a sob and an attempt to argue. I didn't wait to hear what she'd say next. I ended the call, then I blocked her too. Days turned into weeks. The calls stopped, the texts dried up. My parents and Lisa realized that for the first time in my life, I meant it. They weren't getting another dime from me. I still heard updates from Claire now and then. Lisa was apparently miserable in her new life. She went through a series of dead-end jobs, quitting each one because they were too demanding, or the manager was a jerk. My parents were barely scraping by, and the relationship between them and Lisa had started to crack. "They're all fighting," Claire texted me one day. "It's a disaster. Mom says Grandpa and Lisa are at each other's throats. I can't even be around them." I smiled to myself. They had built this house of cards. Now they had to live in the wreckage. Meanwhile, my life had never been better. Emma and I took weekend trips, something I never had the time or money for before. I put more into her college fund, ensuring that she would never have to struggle the way I did. One night, as we sat on the balcony watching the city lights, Emma spoke. "Mom?" She looked down at her hands, thoughtful. "Do you ever think about going back?" I turned to her, studying her face. "Do you?" She shook her head almost immediately. I don't know. It's weird, knowing they're still out there, knowing that they probably still don't think they did anything wrong. I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. "They probably don't, but that's not our problem anymore." Emma was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, I guess it's not." She didn't ask about them again, and neither did I. Months passed. One day I woke up and realized I didn't even think about them anymore. I used to wake up dreading the next phone call, the next guilt trip, the next plea for money. Now my mornings were filled with nothing but peace. Then one afternoon, as I was organizing files on my phone, I came across a folder I had nearly forgotten about. A collection of old voicemails. I clicked on one at random, my mother's voice thick with fake concern. "Bella, I just don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. Don't you care about us at all?" I stared at the screen for a moment. Then, without hesitation, I deleted every single one. That chapter of my life was over, and I had never been happier. It had been nearly a year since I walked away from my parents and Lisa for good. A year of no calls, no texts, no guilt trips, no emotional blackmail. A year of peace. At first, I thought I'd feel some kind of remorse. That maybe, late at night, I'd question my decision. That some part of me would ache for the family I had grown up with. But as the days stretched into weeks, Then months. That ache never came. Instead, I felt something else. Relief. Pure, undiluted relief. My money was mine again. My energy, my time, my focus. All mine. And the best part? Emma was thriving. Without the toxic weight of my family dragging us down, she blossomed. She made new friends, won her first chess tournament at school, and started talking about her dreams. Real dreams. Ones I hadn't even realized she'd been afraid to say out loud before. One night, I found her curled up on the couch, staring at her laptop with an intense expression. "What are you working on, baby?" I asked, sitting down next to her. She hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. I think I want to be an architect," she said quietly. "I've been researching it, watching videos, reading about colleges." My breath caught in my throat. "Architecture?" I repeated, stunned. She nodded, chewing on her lip. "I want to design buildings, schools, homes, maybe even a big city skyline one day." I blinked back tears, because for the first time in a long time, I realized something. She wasn't hesitant anymore. She wasn't that quiet, careful girl who tiptoed around other people's feelings, afraid to take up space. She was becoming herself, and I had made that possible by cutting out the people who had made her feel small. I smiled, pulling her into a hug. "Then we'll make it happen." Her arms tightened around me. "Really?" "Really," I whispered. "And no one is going to take that from you." I still heard through the family grapevine about my parents' situation. Lisa had bounced from one dead-end job to another before finally latching onto another man, some older guy with more money than sense. The same pattern, the same cycle, just with a different target. My parents? They were struggling. I wasn't sure how they were making ends meet, but I knew it wasn't easy. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing about it. No guilt, no pity, just freedom. Then, one Sunday morning, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something, curiosity maybe, made me pick up. "Hello?" A hesitant voice came through the line. "Bella?" I stiffened. It was my mother. I almost hung up right then and there. But instead, I took a slow breath. "What do you want?" There was a long pause. Then, I wanted to see how you were doing." I frowned. "How I'm doing?" Another silence, then softer. "I miss you." I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. Did she? Did she really? Or did she just miss what I gave her? "We lost the apartment," she continued, voice barely above a whisper. "Your father and I are staying in a tiny rental now. It's not easy, Bella. And Lisa..." I let out a sharp laugh. "Lisa? What about Lisa?" "She left," my mother admitted. "She found someone else to take care of her. We barely see her anymore." I should have felt something, anything, but I didn't. Because of course, Lisa left. Of course, the moment she couldn't suck my parents dry anymore, she moved on to someone else. And now, for the first time, they were alone. My mother sniffled. "I just wanted to hear your voice. Maybe one day we could..." "No." The word came out firm, final. She inhaled sharply. "Bella." "No," I repeated, my voice steady. "You made your choice, Mom. You let Lisa throw my daughter onto the street. You told me we didn't fit anymore. And now, because you have nothing left, you suddenly want to check in?" Silence. I shook my head. "You didn't care about me when I needed you? You didn't care about Emma when she was standing outside crying? You cared about Lisa, and now she's gone and you're alone, and that's not my problem." Another shaky breath. "Bella, please." "No," I said one last time. "This is the last time we're ever going to speak. Don't call again." And then, with zero hesitation, I hung up. That night, as Emma and I sat on our balcony, she turned to me with a small smile. "Mom?" She tucked her legs under herself. "Are you happy now?" I thought about it, about how light I felt, how peaceful. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was fighting for love that should have been unconditional. For the first time, I felt whole. I looked at Emma, the best thing in my life, the only family that ever truly mattered, and smiled. "Yeah, baby, I really am." She nodded, satisfied. "Me too." And that night, as I lay in bed, my phone silent, my mind clear, I realized something. I didn't just survive them, I had won.